Welcome, Tracy. We are so excited to have Tracy Almeda-Singian today with us. She is part of our tennis series for Transition Talks. I will get to her in a minute, but we're very excited to have you, Tracy. I know that you haven't seen her in a very long time, but it's so good to reconnect and definitely great to have you and be part of one of these talks. For those of you who don't know Tracy, I'll just tell you very briefly about her. She used to be a former professional tennis player, really doing amazing things, working with New Orleans Pelicans. Well, I can't wait to hear something about that. And also currently now working at Citi as the SVP of global marketing and branding. So that's a lot for you, Tracy. So welcome, and we can't wait to hear your story.
Thanks, Millie. Thanks for the great intro and remembering that I had a decent serve at some point. Hard to tell now since it just barely clears the net, at 2 miles per hour. But we have to let everyone know you did beat me quite often. So you're a great
Uh,
player. So it's good to finally reconnect and spend some time.
Yeah, and I did beat you. I think I remember only one time, but I do remember that crazy serve that was a big nightmare for me. So I'm sure you still have it. You just got to go out there and practice it. But enough tennis talk. Let's get to it. Quickly, just wanted to hear from you. Tell me about your sporting journey. How did you start tennis? Tell us a little bit about that part of Tracy right now.
Yeah, my parents were really loved tennis. Really, my mom, would always watch it on TV. She was a big Steffi Graf fan, and
Mm.
it was as simple as I want to do that. Seeing it on TV, and I said I want to do that. So, what I thought was okay. My mom's like, I think that's what she wanted. For me to watch enough matches that I finally want to pick up the sport. So, I was, nowadays this is considered old, but I was eight years old when I started playing, and right off the get-go started playing tournaments. We lived in New York at the time, New York, New Jersey area, and I won like the first 9 out of 10 tournaments that I played. So my mom realized like, okay, she might be pretty good. I had a nice moon ball, hit the ball very high, you know, got it to the backdrop of those indoor courts, and just started there. I think when you have success at an early age, it makes you even fall in love with the sport more, right? When you have success. So just started there, and my parents were very supportive all the way through. That's how I really got started, was the love of the sport from my parents, and then it just really grew from there.
So you played junior career, then you went to pros. Tell us a little bit about that quick transition. Did you go to college? Explain a little bit what that looked like for you.
Yeah, as a US player, it's a little bit more of a challenge in a true decision to turn pro, because once you turn pro in the US, if you want to go back to college, it is a sacrifice of you won't be able to get a college scholarship anymore, and you're basically giving up your rights to get a free education in the US. So at that time, I was ranked, I think, around 250 around that time, and I was around 17, 18 years old. There were some great Division I schools that were really interested in me, but ultimately I felt like it was the right time. Unfortunately, tore my elbow. um I needed the Tommy John surgery, and at that time it would have taken 2 years to do a rehab because it's fully torn. It was a very slow process. Now they've of course, with innovation, have been able to speed that time up. But so I had to figure it out quick, right? What am I going to do? I've worked my whole life for this dream. I've started from 9 years old on till I was 21, really going after my dream of playing professional tennis. And what am I going to do? Am I going to go back to school, go in debt potentially, right? Because it's going to cost money to go back to school, or do I try to explore, like, what are my other talents besides playing tennis? Because it's just been the only thing I thought about. So um ultimately, having first, I cried for about a month, um you know
Yeah.
really coming to terms with it. I think we all go through that because it's such a
Yeah.
big part of our dreams. So had conversations with family and friends, and ultimately I thought the best thing at that time was I can teach tennis, I can teach you know kids to do what I maybe wanted to do or wasn't able to do anymore at that point. And I was very fortunate to find Kiwi Tennis Club in Indian Harbor Beach, Florida, which is just an hour southeast of the National Tennis Center now, and started my teaching tennis career there.
Wow. So obviously not a decision to retire that was was pondered many weeks. It was a sudden thing. Hey, you can't do tennis anymore. You struggle mentally, big challenge for you. Did you have any help with supporting team? Did you have a support system in place that guide you or helped you, put you in the right direction, basically?
Yeah, I mean, you always have, your family and friends. I'm very fortunate to be very close to my family. We're Filipino heritage, so they never go away. If they could live in your house, they would like to continue to live in your house forever. So we're all very close, and it was discussing it with my mom and dad and my brother and sister at the time. We were all really, really discussing it, and everyone has a different opinion, right? So you end up getting their opinions because they're always looking out for the best of you. And then also you talk to your coach and your friend, one of my best friends since I was 3, he was like, "You're smart, go back to school." And he's very focused on education. I actually talked to Mrs. Roddick, Andy's mom, who I knew quite well and spent quite a bit of time at their house when we were younger. And she was wanting me to go back to school too, to open up the doors for other opportunities. But ultimately you kind of know in your heart of like who you are as an individual. And when the people that care about you most, you sort of see what they say, what are the commonalities, and like what really suits you. You have to trust your instinct, in a lot of these things. So yeah.
That's great, and can't imagine how difficult it must have been, since you identify pretty much as Tracy the tennis player and the one who's going to be a professional tennis player, and you had your mindset on that track, and then all of a sudden overnight you're thrown into this massive curveball. What was that feeling like when you go into teach tennis for the first time after you stop your tennis career, basically? What was that? Was that scary? Tell me a little bit about that.
There's a bit of sadness, right? There's no question there was a bit of sadness because you realize it's over, right? Sort of that finality of it, because you're hustling, you're like, I have to make a living. So you're happy you get a job, and you feel very grateful that you have a job. But at the same time, you're like, oh, this is real. I'm on the court. This is real. This is my life, right? And so that's very hard. At the same time, teaching tennis to this day is still the most rewarding thing I've ever done. Like by far, anything that I've done in marketing or in my, overall career, the most proud I am is of the kids I taught tennis. I've attended quite a few weddings to go to this year. They're now having their first children, and being able to be a part of their lives beyond the court, I think is the most meaningful. And to hear the stories of, oh, I remember when we did this on the court, and even, that really like touches you on a different level than anything I could potentially, do as a marketer.
I mean, that says a lot, Tracy, because you are an Emmy award winner. So that says a lot. But I'm very glad that you found your passion with teaching at the time.
Yeah.
So tell us a little bit about, after you were teaching, how did you find your niche, I would say, or how did you find your other passion?
Yeah. So, because tennis was our whole life, right? And it was my whole life, and I'm still on the court. So I've stopped on tour. Now I'm still on the court, and I'm like, certainly I have other skills that, I can do something cool. And, you and I know the challengers are not always, the greatest things to do. You don't stay in great hotels. You're in small, sort of third tier cities to be able to get the points in order to move up to all the tournaments people see on TV. But I knew I could make it a better experience for the players overall. And there's one in Midland, Michigan, which is like in February in Michigan, in the middle of, 10-degree weather, the most awful weather you can ever imagine. But you had a blast. And we had a blast because these were people that were very passionate about tennis, that were loving having a pro tournament in their small community. And they made it like feel like a WTA event for the players. And I just really admired that. And I'm like, I'm going to do the beach version of Midland, Michigan, because I can't stand the cold. But so that was my goal. So what I decided to do was, I even looked into a world team tennis, team. Like, how could I bring pro tennis to the club I was at? And that was really my first go around for event marketing. Is I started a $50,000 challenger, and I wanted to make sure it was profitable and it was, impactful for the players overall. So we were fortunate enough to get all the sponsors. Were the local Mercedes dealership, the local jewelry shop donated earrings for the winners, right? We had, which I really valued. If they did an event, a volunteer event for the schools, the players got paid, because, a lot of times they would just ask us to volunteer, and it was like, we need extra money. So, it was making sure that the athletes got paid for those appearances as well. And then we had a great players party on the water, on the beach. And so, that was my first go around. We tied it to, a local charity to put people through nursing school. So it was also a tax deduction for these local businesses. And we raised over $100,000 to put people through nursing school. So not only did we, have a great event for our club and our community, we also ensured that we were giving back to the community through this like nursing school scholarship. So that was my first go around, and kind of like, okay, that's pretty good.
Yeah, amazing, because to those of you who are listening, pro circuit and challengers are not the most profitable events out there. So they're usually the first tier of the professional pathway for the players, and for the most part, very hard to get to, very difficult. So congrats on that. I believe that tournament's still on the calendar, correct?
Yeah, actually, just last year was its final year.
Just last year was its final year. So
but it lasted
awesome.
for about 12 years. Yeah.
Great story. Tell us then what happened what do you do now? And like, with all of that you've, all of that experience that you've gained, what exactly are you doing now? What is your current role?
Yeah, so I work for Citibank, and I'm the senior vice president of marketing and branding for talent acquisition. So ultimately, I'm trying to bring the brightest talent to Citi for as an employer. So, if you were looking for a role in like technology, a software engineer, a software developer, banks are looking for a lot of that type of talent, as well as risk and audit. They also need marketers. I'm looking for a social media marketer as well. So there's a lot of different parts of Citi, and I work on the marketing plans, basically to ensure globally that we have the right tools and assets for our regions to leverage to hire people.
Great. Yeah. I absolutely love that. That's fantastic. Now, with you having that particular position, tell me a little bit of the skills that you learned, going through your sports career and then as a tennis coach and all of your transitioning. But tell me a little bit of those skills that you learned that are so transferable, and perhaps that you're looking for in your talent that you're currently seeking.
Yeah. I mean, the most important thing that I think sports teaches you overall is, that drive and determination to find success, right? And that can come in so many different ways, whether it's collaboration, the will to go and find the answers, that self-drive and determination to make something happen is important in any role. And that's really what sport teaches you, right? And then the discipline of like, when you also need to understand, how to sort of set back and make sure that you're looking at the overall picture, right? Being goal oriented in any role in all of corporate America is is really important. So once you know the goal, it's also easier to prioritize what your steps will be, right, to get to that goal. And I think everyone can get overwhelmed, especially I think everyone found that within COVID as well, you know, that we can all get overwhelmed. So how do we prioritize our time? How do we prioritize our tasks day to day? And I think athletes are really good at that because they know that what's going to get them to their ultimate goal, they've got to keep that, you know, first and foremost.
And would you say that those were your main key takeaways from being an athlete, or do you have other ones that you use on a day-to-day?
Yeah, I mean, it's the strategic thinking, I would say, is another one. Strategically, you know, you have to understand what you do day to day is going to affect the business. And so to understand like what are the you know things and how can I set myself up for success in the future, right? So being able to understand the long-term goal, you have to have a long-term goal and then a short-term goal. And then what are the things that need to happen in order for those to come to fruition, right? And that I think really has helped me overall. And then also having confidence, not being afraid to take risk. You know, I went from working at Wilson Sporting Goods to working at Red Bull and, you know, going completely out of tennis. So here's, you know, 26 years in the sport, my entire life, right? 27 years. And then going to Red Bull was a risk, right? But it was also a blast for me to do because I had more crayons as a marketer, more creativity, being able to work with different sports and be able to explore who I am as a marketer even more was something, you know, some people are afraid to take that plunge, and I've sort of embraced that, right? And that's been the common probably thread along my journey is that I'm always trying to take on a new challenge. After I went to Red Bull, I went to the Pelicans. So I moved to New Orleans, you know, to work for the NBA team, New Orleans Pelicans, 3 months before COVID. So I got to enjoy my first Mardi Gras, and then the world shut down. Right.
Wow. Yeah.
So that was quite an experience. How are we going to keep our partnerships and sponsorships, you know, through COVID, when a lot of people, a lot of teams were losing their partners and sponsors. So I had to be innovative in the fact of starting our influencer marketing program at that time, so that we could retain those sponsorship dollars because they weren't seeing the amount of impressions they were hoping to get. And yeah, and then went into finance.
Wow. That's amazing. That's amazing. It's a great story, but huge takeaways for me for this particular interview. I mean, your discipline, goal-oriented, that's a tough word for me to pronounce. So
Prioritization. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, no worries.
And taking risk. So yeah, I think it's great to bring those back because all of the athletes that are listening, not most of the time understand that whatever the sport that they're doing, they actually are acquiring skill sets that will, you know, get them ready for a corporate job or any other job that not necessarily needs to be staying. Not saying that coaching is a bad thing, but not necessarily staying in their own sport. So just trying to take the risk to go out there and figure something else out. You're already prepared. You need to believe in yourself, and you need to have the confidence to just take the plunge, like you said. So great takeaways from me. So I appreciate you pointing those out. And please, if you do have more, please do share because this is really meaty. I love it.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think the one thing that athletes don't realize is that, and people are realizing it more now, especially the last 5 years, because of the growth of social media and the importance in the market overall, but they are brands themselves as well. And so the things that they're applying to their social media are all, like, don't take my job, y'all, but you know, you could be marketers as well because they have this natural capability and this natural understanding of, okay, I know I have to be out there. How do I make myself engaging? How do I ensure people know who I am as an athlete? You essentially could do that for a brand as well, right? It's not what I do is not rocket science in that sense. It's feel, it's understanding people, understanding how you can do that. And I think sometimes we all take for granted what our natural skills are, but your strengths are also what is going to make you marketable in the marketplace overall. Like, if it is what was your strength on court was, Millie was like, I knew I was in it for the long haul. Like, she's going to wear me down, right? We know that she's one of the most determined people I know, and her determination to me was, was very admirable. And that's something that another athlete can also have as a quality and say, okay, I know if I stick and stay focused, I'm going to accomplish my goal. So whether that be to move to sales or move to, production, you can believe that you can do it. I think really it is, anything is possible, as long as you sort of put your mind to it.
Thank you, Tracy. Those are great words. Oof. Not the part about me being determined, but yes, it was hard. I wasn't going down easy, that's for sure. I always made it hard.
Yeah. And like one of the nastiest drop shots too. And I was like, oh, I can't.
But now let's go back to this. Do you have any regrets throughout your sporting career? Anything that you do differently?
Yeah, I think everyone has things they know that they can do better. I don't have any regrets because everything that has happened has made me who I am today, right? Mm-hmm. I'm sitting here with you today because of the things that I've been able to experience. So no, I don't have any regrets, but I do wish that I was more patient with myself, not just as an athlete, like as a whole. And I think we all have to be easier on ourselves and embrace who we are and embrace our strengths. I really believe that that's something that I think we all have in us and can really embrace more, and then always have fun. I think sometimes people forget that because life can feel pretty heavy too. Mm-hmm. And it's like, I just, want to put a smile on somebody's face and bring good energy. And I think that puts people in a different mind space and in a different level of remembering who you are as well. I think that's always having a positive impact on people that way. I wish I could have done that for myself more, been more patient, been more understanding of myself, in my younger days.
I love that. And you do have a great energy. So just so that you're aware, I want to share that. Yes, you have a great energy. So Tracy, tell us, you've worked in all these amazing organizations, did you end up going back to school after you finished playing your professional career?
Yeah, actually, no, I didn't. I didn't take the advice of most of my family and friends on that because I just didn't really feel like it was the right thing for me at that time. It's really a personal decision to go to school. And honestly, I never liked studying. I will study if I understand the purpose and see how it really affects me. But I was very fortunate throughout my career, and this is something that sport does give you, is a network. And it's a global network, and I had a global network of people that really have helped me throughout my career. My mentor, I actually met at a USPTA event, early on in my career, and he saw what I did with those, events, the charity events that I did. He says, okay, you're teaching 40 hours a week and you just raised, a ridiculous amount of money. Because after the MEMA event, I raised another $500,000 for 2 local children's charities. So someone saw that, believed in me, said, hey, will you, consider coming to Wilson? So I was very fortunate that I had people that believed in me. Education is very important. If I had a kid, I would tell them to go to school. But for me, it wasn't the right choice. It has hurt me in certain parts of my career in terms of maybe getting a CMO role. But there are always the right type of brands, the right type of people to surround yourself with, and really being able to have that mentorship and that network of people that support for you, that advocate for you, to me was a big key in my career and being fortunate enough to work for those type of brands.
That's wonderful. That's so great. Thank you. Thank you for sharing that.
Yeah.
So now for our last question. Do you have any recommendations or advice for those athletes who are transitioning or who are thinking about retiring and taking into their new journey?
Yeah, I would really recommend talking to your mentor or the coaches that, have helped you through your career. They also will have a real great understanding of what your strengths are. And then that will help you sort of find and navigate what are sort of natural transitions into that, right? If you like to talk a lot, maybe you're great at communications. If you're a very social person, event management might be something that you would be able to do. If you're very structured and you wrote, notebooks every single day and wrote down every drill that you did, you might be a great accountant. Who knows, and really got into the nitty gritty. You could be a great nutritionist. I think, like you said, Millie, not everybody coaching is not for everybody. And there are opportunities out there every single day. There's brands such as Enterprise that really emphasize on like hiring former athletes. I know at Citi, we also really embrace, the athlete experience overall, as we look at talent. So I think there's opportunities out there more than maybe when you're still in it, you don't really realize how many people really you inspire overall, just on a day to day.
Oh, wonderful. That's great. I mean, what a great interview. I have to say, Tracy, your journey has been very inspiring. I know, and I actually did not know that quick turnaround for you with your injury and that part. And I know you mentioned in our previous phone call how you spent a long time away from traveling even. You just wanted to stay in put in your bubble and wanted to be home and just really get rooted again in a way because we're,
Yeah.
as tennis players, you're just traveling constantly all year round, and tennis coaches that are in the high performance world as well. So, very inspiring. I appreciate your time. I hope we can continue to stay connected. I will not win an
Absolutely.
Emmy award. I know that. I know that as a fact, but I am so proud that you did. And please stay connected. And yeah, I mean, thank you. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you for having me, and it's been great. We will definitely keep in touch, and I'm always following your career on LinkedIn, so it's great to see you.